you do, and then you're like, oh, well, this is a massive, massive risk. But we all know the reputation of Rich. It transcends so much of what we know in Heroes of the Storm. But let's get into it. Game number 2 now, as Gen.G leads 1-0 against Tempest.
Gen.G are in their best form of their careers, I think. We've seen them have great runs through international events, but never this flawless. It just has never happened before. We're seeing them outdraft in every scenario, and even the all-right pick makes sense, and it's only possible because, as Dreadnought and you guys are mentioning, this team has the ability to make these big plays. They have a hero pool large enough because Rich comes from a melee background, and Alarak's one of his favorite heroes historically, even on his stream. It's terrifying, you know, and Tempest is again drafting reactionary here with the Malfurion pick, but can you really keep responding to Gen.G? I think you got to start throwing punches. I think you're going to have to start throwing wrenches into the gears, because if Gen.G is just allowed to do as they will, I think you're always going to kind of end up on the back foot in draft.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel as if the Malfurion obviously is a very safe pick, but it doesn't really give too much away. We know that for a fact. Johanna and Genji, well, you got kill pressure, you got lane pressure, you got the ability to try and set up fights. This is a hero for Johanna, for Tist, that's provided him so much potential. The combination between the Johanna and the Genji, every single time he comes in with that condemn, instantly collapsing with that swift strikes. If they pick anybody that's immobile in that backline, such as that Jaina, if she gets caught out in the wrong place at the wrong time, unless Sign is a god with into the fray, Genesis is going to be deleted every single time.
I think there's something to look at with this rotation from not only the 1-2 on Gen.G, but also the 2-3 from Tempest. First off, looking at the 1-2, the fact that you see a Johanna Genji paired together without the Garrosh on the table, we can assume that Garrosh is going to pick up in the 2-3. But Johanna Genji are not oftentimes the pairing that you want to expect out of your backline and your front line. You want more hard crowd control, more hard CC. So the fact that they're willing to do that and understand that they're going to be difficult within the wave clear avenue, I feel like this is very heads up. But the Jane, I think, is one of the best responses to that iron skin. You can burst through it and then ensure that the slow happens afterwards, and the Johanna is in a very poor position, enabling Garrosh that much more. So I think it's more clever on the side of Gen.G, and they're one of the few teams that I think can get away with this rotation, but I really like Tempest's response as well.
You end up with the Johanna too, which Tempest was unable to get last game because it was banned, because they drafted into the first pick, so it was removed there after they grabbed the Tracer Task-Star. They felt like was the only thing they could get to play this map, to play the previous Battleground properly after Genji and Hanzo were removed. So you take the Johanna first. You've now also banned away the Maiev, which is, if the Maiev went through, I think Tempest would definitely grab it up. We're looking at a Tempo Storm-esque draft here for Tomb. Small map, a lot of early aggression.
Are we going to see the Blaze? That's what I'm assuming as the immediate counter to what? Twilight Dream, Garrosh Interrupt, and Jaina Burst. But then when it comes to support, I'm wondering where we go. I was considering either the Uther or the Sturkov, but Sake just keeps flexing his might, showing what he can do in this Karazim.
And I was going to say that, I would have rather see the Blaze ban in the second rotation from Tempest rather than the Decker Kane. That being said, I mean, we are yet to kind of see it showcased by Genji and how impactful they can be with that, and I'm sure that Tempest has seen that more time and time again throughout scrims, but with how impactful whenever they have the Malfurion, I think the Blaze, to be able to compensate for some of the lack of healing that you have with the composition beyond the wave clear and everything else he provides, and the synergy with Johanna, I feel like that was a big misstep here for Tempest.
I mean, of course, if you look at the last draft, yes, admittedly it's a very different map, but they went towards Karazim before any indication of Deckard ever comes along. Again, kids of the map, it's a bit different.
I think the only fear with the Deckard Kane was maybe some sort of combo draft with Genji with resets, leaving coming in as the final pick. But still, I kind of do agree, because either way, you're going to get more out of your Jaina composition with Garrosh if there's no Blaze on the other side. Even with these two final picks coming in, if there's no Blaze, I feel like Tempest has the better draft here. But with Blaze on the other side, it's so much more difficult to execute this properly. And here comes the Hammer pick. We've been talking about this a lot, specifically against Garrosh, specifically to poke down the Garrosh composition. It's very difficult to close the gap onto the Hammer, especially when Rich is playing it. Its positioning is fantastic. Gets the cloak, of course, stays back, only sieges up when he knows he's in the right spot. So I like this pick coming through. It's been banned so many times. Now it's tested at the highest level here against Tempest.
It feels like, as much as the Hammer strategy is something that they've clearly worked on and they have comfort with, it feels like when they drafted Hammer in the group stage, it was in some of the games that they had most issues with some of the opponents that they went into. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I definitely think that's fair to say, especially against Temple Storm. I believe it comes to mind in some of the struggles that was displayed there. But on Tomb of the Spider Queen, if Hammer has an optimal laning circumstance, which I think is pretty reasonable with this draft, it puts it to where you can get that early game siege onto the front walls a lot faster than most compositions can, kind of like old Vala Ariel Tassadars used to make happen. It's not in the same manner, but it still has the same impact with experience. And more importantly, what that does is open transitions from mid lane to bottom. And once you get control of that, there's really no kind of turning back. So I think it provides a lot of early game macro that Gen.G needed.
Time for predictions.
I think if the Blaze got banned out, I might be willing to risk moving over to Tempest, especially with the Sergeant Hammer. But Sergeant Hammer already looks good in Gen.G's hands. Now it has not only the ability to deal with Garrosh, but it has Blaze in case, kind of stuff hits the fan there. So got to go Gen.G.
Like Tempest comp, but I don't see any real reliable way for them to get to that backline and actually try and take that in the Sergeant Hammer, so I'm going to stick with Gen.G as well.
I'm going to have to stick with Genji too. I think the Deckard ban was a misread, and it's a little bit disappointing considering that a lot of the Western teams are already able to pick up on the Sergeant Hammer pick here, and Tempest just misses out, so Genji.
And until they lose, we're on Gen.G's side here with a 4 for 4 on the desk. Let's see what you guys think at home as well. Maybe our percentages have shifted even further. And it is 82% to Gen.G, 17% to them as 1% it fluctuated, and it's gone again. All right, well, a lot of faith in Gen.G, obviously, and it's completely founded by looks and things here for the mid-season brawl. Right now, they are the tyrant that everyone is looking to topple. Let's check in with our commentators, bringing us game number 2. Guys, what do you think of the draft?
I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited. In Fnatic versus Dignitas, Fnatic actually banned out Hammer when they wanted to pick up Phoenix, so now we finally have that matchup, and we get to watch how it unfolds.
Now, I'm excited for Hammer, but at the same time, I have to say, no one in their right mind are actually going to bet against Gen.G until they finally lost the map.
Yeah.
I might be the guy not in my right mind then. I'm waiting for the right draft, but it's not there yet.
When it appears,
I
maybe.
have a hunch that the right draft is not going to come until it
Maybe. All right, guys, have fun.
All right, man, let's go ahead, head into the battleground here. Hammer versus Phoenix. What do you think about that?
I'm just excited for Hammer. We had it banned so many times now where teams have said, okay, there's definitely something going here, and I want to see how it works out for Gen.G. Now, we have seen a Hammer, of course, in the group stage, but that wasn't really quite the same emphasis and not quite as many stakes there. So we're heading into the game, and we have to the left side with the one only Gen.G with Tist on Johanna, Reset on Genji, Kyoja on Blaze, Saka on Karazim, and Rich on Sergeant Hammer.
Genji on Genji, man, that is definitely a hard one. Here on the right side, Hyde playing Malfurion, Sign on Garrosh, Dami on Jaina, Good on Dahaka, and Lockdown to play some Phoenix. Now, if anyone is going to do well on Phoenix, Lockdown, he showed us in the group stages that he knows how to play that hero and push it to the limit. Watch out for his auto attacks, while also dodging abilities. This guy has incredible awareness when it comes to the character.
Yeah, I'm just really curious to see how exactly the Hammer play is going to come into this. And I actually said it in the group stage already. Every time you see Rich on a hero that isn't really mobile, something just feels wrong. But he's just so unbelievably good. We saw the All-Star match where he played Lucio, and I found out later when I talked to the players that he actually asked them to draft Lucio for him. So he just said, well, I might not have the most damage, but he's fast, so yeah, let's just hand it over to me.
Yeah, they were focused on trying to get him on supports because he can be deadly when he has that damage available, and so far, it's been pretty deadly for minions. Clearing out the middle lane, also the bottom, sieging up right in the face of Tempest. Tempest so far has not touched him, but they have looked towards grabbing some pressure on Johanna as Sign comes over and looks for those groundbreaker stacks. Now, Rich is actually in the bottom lane as Genji is here to help him out. He is actually setting up the solo as Kyoja goes to the top instead with Blaze.
Yeah, so they went into that one solo lane up to the top with the Haka going up against Blaze. Blaze actually with the rotations here as well to help in the mid lane to clear waves. But Rich down here on Sergeant Hammer with Ambush as his level 1 talent. So going for the stealth. And of course the siege up potentially is absolutely fantastic here once that you get the objective. And Kyoja on the other hand is already flipped by Garrosh here. Tempest is looking for the first blood and they get it.
Jet Propulsion comes in, gets a stun. Tis looks like he'll be next. No, with the Iron Skin, he's able to escape. But Tempest finding first blood, jumping slightly up in experience as well. So they can definitely come back and get their fights here. Already dropping off some gems as well. 18 going in to the 14 that is only available for Genji on their purse.
I like it that immediately after the kill, they try to go for a turn-in. Just turn in as much as you have, even if it's just a couple, and make sure that you slowly progress towards the first Web Weaver wave. I love that we have Jaina for them in this mix too, and there's definitely a lot of synergy on the draft for Tempest. You can get the throw into the Malfurion roots, you have the Haka's Tong as a follow-up, and then all that burst damage that comes particularly from Jaina, but Phoenix can later on, with the Salvo in particular, add a lot to it too.
Don't forget about the Twilight Dream if you want to go that route for Malfurion.
Yeah.
The combo is pretty darn scary for Tempest. As we continue to have the wave clear between our teams, Jaina helping out a lot there. This Iron's getting used pretty early, so I might actually try to step forward and try to get this combo. Ooh, gonna miss out on it. As Tempest continues to stay pretty close in terms of wave clear, and it even jumps up in experience. I want to look at this bottom lane, though, try to figure out if Rich is able to grab those turrets yet, as the turn-in starts for Tist.
Here comes the body block, and then the Iron Skin comes out, but Tist is still moving away. Now, Dami has gotten some damage pushed onto him, but the heals are there in time. Not quite enough to confirm the kill against Reset, what we saw from Lockdown a second ago with his Phoenix play here. But still, a lot of aggression coming out of Tempest. And I really like it. It forces Genji to play a bit more passive than they're usually used to.
Yeah, even Good coming in there, locking down Sergeant Hammer, making it very difficult for the backup. It seems like Tempest already in this early game is winning pretty heavily in the trades. Every time Genji kind of walking away with the tail between their legs, Kerosene not really putting out as much healing as you would get with a lot of supports that you typically see. So you can see if Genji does not get the kill they want at the beginning of a fight, they're going to back up and attempt to reassess and engage later on.
Now, for Sergeant Hammer on level 4 now, we have Siege Tactics as the talent. So you can actually get unstoppable while you're in the Siege mode by using Neo Steel Plating. That's one of the things that Rich will definitely utilize in big team fights to make sure that he stays alive whenever these combos that we talked about earlier come out. But now Tempest is getting what they were working for so hard in the early. They get the first Web Weaver wave, they get the first objective. They have also here the timing on their own camp. But as you can see, Gen.G doing a really good job of timing their own night camp so that they can help defend the Web Weavers here. But I really love that Tempest is working on the Siege Giant camp on the other side of the map, trying to just emphasize this push a little bit more even.
Yeah, they're definitely taking it a step further with that. And Tempest will go ahead and clear this night camp as quickly as possible in the middle wave. While Sergeant Hammer on the bottom, realizing, okay, there's a Web Weaver push coming in, and Giants, I'll be the one to handle this. Sergeant Hammer, okay with sitting behind some turrets and sieging away, but Tempest should have the opportunity here to maybe try and find a pick as they head to the middle lane and the top to start pushing in. In fact, I'm actually looking at Genji, and they're doing really good with this defense. Already clearing out the middle quickly, top is already weakened, and Sergeant Hammer is doing what she can in the bottom.
The night camp has gotten so much value, but the bot lane, that's what I'm worried about. When we're talking about Genji, that's where Tempest is looking for value. And they have nearly a level lead already. Now Phoenix currently staying up at the top, but as we see down here, Good might have overstayed his welcome a little bit. Nice Storm on the other hand, connecting on Sake, and the Haka walks away and puts some tower shots onto Kerosene.
Caldor, Tempest has a full level lead over Genji. They have managed to pull it off here in game number 2. Now, with that being said, it was a Web Weaver tune-in, but they're looking to extend that lead as they actually try to grab this fort, as they see their teammates trying to jump on that bottom lane and kill the Haka.
Exactly, and the cool thing about this is that Sign the entire time anchored the play at the side and said, guys, just keep pushing. I'll let you know once that someone is moving in and I'll stop them. With Garrosh, he got the stuns through, he just threw them away, and so we had at the top that push just continuing. And they didn't quite get the fort, but it's close. The problem is that now Genji is moving in and they get the free shot at Jaina, and that's not an opportunity you can give Genji. They will take that kill.
Genji showing what they do best, something that we saw often in the map on game number 1. And we've also seen throughout the entire group staging, finding one target and jumping on them. Now Tempest stabilizes a little bit here and fights back a little bit, but look at the experience. Genji able to tie it up with that kill, and of course the lane's being pushed in, and Sergeant Hammer is continuing to be a nuisance in that bottom lane.
Especially with that hovering siege mode on level 7, so now a bit more mobility in that siege mode, or some at all, for Rich, and he is using that as we speak. The turning comes through too, and that is the big problem now, because you have Web Weavers with Sergeant Hammer behind them, and that is going to make it incredibly difficult for Tempest to stop this. And we've been going on about this in drafts between Korean teams over and over again. if you get that early Johanna, especially with the Blaze, that's when we saw all these teams ban out Sergeant Hammer. And now we are going to see why. This is a monster push that Gen.G is currently setting up.
And they're about to hit level 10. Bottom, middle, couple of minions available. Lockdown even coming over here to set up for the defense. Tempest will be slightly behind in that experience, so their heroics will be slightly too late. See if Genji be able to push the envelope here. Sergeant Hammer continues to be in the bottom lane, but don't forget about BFG. Genji at any point can try to focus down a target, and Sergeant Hammer can shoot from across the map there and try to get a kill. And Lockdown will definitely be one of the targets. If that shield starts to get low or even gets close to expiring, Lockdown will be focused down by the big bullet here as Sergeant Hammer rotates into the middle.
And Lockdown already lost the shield here, as we saw the Web Weaver wave just go completely through him, and Rich is now moving up into the middle after the fort at the bot lane has already been eliminated. Level 11 versus 10. Tempest now trying to go in here. Good comes in with a global. They're trying to go for Johanna. 7-sided comes out. Johanna goes into the bunker. Also still had the shield activatable here. Tempest not finding the kill, but at least they hold on to the fort for now.
The salvo, though, gets interrupted and is actually able back to come up here. Stack on cooldown. We'll be able to use it. We do have Lockdown on the bottom to tap that well, though. They want to come back into the fight nice and healthy. Tempest able to save their fort in the middle and the bottom, so not too bad for them. But they did lose the fort on the bottom lane. That's where you see that experience jumping up here for Gen.G. Good news for Tempest, though. They are close to another turn-in, and they have a top and bottom fort that's low on health.
Exactly. So they will get that experience fairly easily. If they move out a bit and take those two structures, they have a good chance of making that work. Now, we have the rotation to the top, as Good realizes he needs to catch these waves that are pushing in, not only because they need the gems, but also because experience becomes now incredibly important to get towards level 13 talents. Gen.G has that one level advantage, and they're going to try and use that. Another quick taunt here, Iron Skin comes out, the salvo in play, and the bunker has a quick response, but only one person is using it.
Few members get hit by the salvo, but Tempest doesn't get any kills. Gen.G, after using the bunker, steps forward, starts to get a little bit of harassment against Tempest, and prevents him from going for the turn-in, which was the major goal to begin with. Tempest still has 0 out of the 55 gems. They need to drop up out of the 59, while Gen.G on the other side goes in for the aggressive turn-in themselves, and they have enough for the second Webweaver phase for them.
One more gem is all that they need to turn in right now, and if Gen.G gets that turn in,
then
that snowball is going to develop into an avalanche. Tempest is in a really awkward position now. They need to turn in, but they're also about to be a talent down, and that's the problem. Here comes the turn in for Gen.G, and they are getting that Webweaver wave.
Genji able to drop it down, 13 about to hit. That level lead starting to really snowball here for Gen.G as they continue to siege away on the fort here in the middle. Lockdown doing his best here to defend, but with Tist on the side, watching for this rotation from Tempest. Their main goal will be able to grab all these forts here during this entire phase. Webweaver's finally making the lane as 13's about to hit.
And getting onto Hammer here is just so difficult, even with Garrosh, because you simply sit next to a Blaze that can drop the bunker. You have also Johanna in that setup, and they are just pushing this in. Hovering Siege mode is definitely helping Rich out here. Now they have the level 13 talents as well, where we have the hyper cooling engines coming in. Malfurion is just getting deleted here, and what already looked like a really difficult defense is just getting worse.
That kill was from just Reset and Saki by themselves, able to catch him over the wall too with the X-Strike, jumping back. Genji being shown off by Gen.G as they go ahead and push in this middle wave and break down this turret wall.
They're going to that wall, and they are not going to stop there. At the bot lane, we see a similar picture as the Webweaver is pushing in as we speak, but now Rich is getting in position to drop the first keep here. A 2-level lead already. Gen.G is in a 1-0 lead. They want to go to the grand final here, and a 2-0 over Tempest would kick off this best of 5 to a fantastic start for the blue team. Here comes the Water Elemental, the lockdown attempt against Genji. But Gen.G is moving away, no problems there.
Are we sure that Gen.G's not using cheat codes? Because they look unstoppable right now, consistently pushing in, always having the perfect drafts, and Tempest just can't get on them.
I mean, they're just absolutely looking fantastic, especially when Gen.G is playing Genji. They're always looking really good, but with Rich on Hammer, they can pull every hero off.
They continue to keep pulling it off here. This keep getting sieged slowly, but with 13 hitting, Gen.G will play it safe. There are enough gems for Tempest to fight back, of course. They have a total of 74 available. Just need to drop out that 55.
Tempest just needs a good fight. They have so many good synergies here. We talked about a lot of that at the beginning of the game, and they found the kill. If we look at the kill count, this isn't really a game where we have a lot of big fights happening. It's just that from a rotational perspective and playing the objective, Gen.G is doing an incredible job. They have the draft for it too. They can always just slowly siege in with Sergeant Hammer. They have the defensive lines here with Johanna and with Blaze, and it's so incredibly difficult for Tempest to get a proper fight going. Every time they go in, there's an immediate bunker. Johanna slows them down, and they start to have to disengage. If Garrosh oversteps, there's a 7-sided right to the face. It's really difficult for Sign to force anything, even though he's constantly looking for that opportunity.
The question is how do they get that fight? And I think the only answer here is Dahaka, right? Dahaka's to come in for a flank, but as you brought up, you have suddenly Sake there. You have the ability for Karazin to drop the 7-sided strike. Tempest just has to commit, but committing is a scary thing to do.
You have to somehow get a flank going. The problem is that Genji is really just anchoring these flanks the entire time. And in a straight line, 5 versus 5, Tempest just doesn't really have the tools that they need here. Here comes the blast. Whoa! The immediate instant elite against Jaina and Garrosh. That was insane. They were there, then they weren't anymore. Phoenix is down as well.
It is actually awe-inspiring what Gen.G can do. And now at 12 minutes into the game and 30 seconds, they look straight for a core after they immediately delete 3 targets on a whim.
These guys are just straight up cheating. I mean, that is insane. They just double drop 2 heroes within not even half a second and make an immediate core call right after. Gen.G with an amazing finish to a very tactical game number 2 here, where they showcased a draft that Tempest could at no point engage.
Honestly, if you're Tempest, what do? I mean, you take your hands off the keyboard and you're like, well, that happened.
Well, if you're Tempest right now, then the biggest problem that you have is you ask yourself, do I write GG in caps lock? Or...
It has been a very difficult road here for Tempest as Gen.G continues to show how strong of a team they are. It's ridiculous how much they're just sitting there pushing away. You see the opposing team dancing a little bit, and then in the flip of an instant, they jump on our target and delete 2, and then finish off with a 3rd kill on a lockdown. I think these Sergeant Hammer bans that we've been seeing this entire tournament seem to be warranted.
Yeah, but if you have to start banning Hammer against them, where does that stop? I mean, you look at the draft that Tempest had, and you're like, yeah, I can see what the idea here is. That is a good draft. You can definitely get a win. But they got a single kill, and at no point did it really look like they could turn the game around. The snowball that we saw from Genji was just way too hard to stop.
I mean, normally I can just throw out random answers, but I actually feel dumbfounded right now. Like, I don't know what you do against this team. They are just stellar when it comes to their team fights. Their macro play is on point. Dignitas so far seems to be the only team that has come close enough, but even they got taken out in team fights towards the end. It's a question mark, that's for sure.
We're going to a quick break, and that's the time that Tempest can use to maybe find an answer here for game number 3, but it's not going to be easy. So we're going to see you guys in a few.